how did one man convert a single typewriter and a single $10 bill into an international company? Yeah, if you were to go looking for this company, you wouldn't find it anywhere. At least, not anymore. If you were to drive by the former headquarters in Newaygo, Michigan, you probably couldn't even tell it was there. So where did it go? For as long as I've been alive, I've always been told if you want success, you have to take a risk. And so that's exactly what Joseph Henry Rowe did. He took a gamble. Venturing all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan to Newaygo, Michigan, 1905, he had a dream, and that was to get a dowel machine. And after finding this dowel machine, he spent his only $10 on the $50 down payment. And later in that same year, he would incorporate his business in June, all while falling in love with the city of Newaygo. It wouldn't even take 2 months later for him to start work in the former Portland Cement Company factory. But how in the world was Rowe going to afford this? How was he going to save any money when he just spent all of it? That's where the Painter Creek came in. This creek ran straight through the building, which would in turn spin a massive turbine, which generated approximately 100 horsepower. Now, for what he was actually producing, he actually formerly worked for a furniture maker, Berkeley & Gay, back in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So the idea was already set in stone. So, Rowe Manufacturing decided to produce more than 40 varieties of wooden parts, including school/factory benches, spindles, doorknobs, door pulls, decorative rosettes, patterned shelves, etc. Fun fact, during the boom of the automotive industry, they were selling gearshift handles to automotive companies, and even up until their close, they were still selling these. I found this super interesting. Apparently, they sold a ton of wooden paddles to Puerto Rico and Cuba because they would use them on the sugar plantations. Rowe also found massive success in World War I, selling wooden plugs for shells, because war sells, of course. And so during the war, one of Rowe's German employees asked him a question. What are you going to do with these plugs? Who are they for? They're for the Germans. But the German channels are blocked. This is very easy. We ship them over to France, and they shoot them over. Now with the business thriving, Rowe decided it was time to build another plant. So in 1914, he built one, but it didn't last long. So, apparently a worker got a hot splinter, and then said splinter fell into the sawdust, which then engulfed the plant. But not only just the plant, but 2 barns and a house as well. And so because of this, they moved back to the former factory. But they did refurbish it with aluminum siding in 1940. They did continue to improve the factory by adding steam and electricity, but even then, the Painter Creek still produced about 50% of the horsepower, up until closing, which closure would come in 1967, 3 years after Henry Rowe's death. Now, Rowe was such a workaholic, such a Chad, that at 90, after a long day at work, he just went home and died in his sleep. You couldn't stop this man from working. Unfortunately, 3 years after his death, as mentioned, the business did end up closing, which was caused by an elevator fire which caused irreparable damage, so they had to close. We're not entirely sure when, but the building did eventually go on to be demolished, though there are a few standalone structures that do still remain. And if you did really want to buy the remains, the property that the structure was on was actually being sold for $1,990,000. Could be yours. Currently, the remains are still obscured by the Muskegon River, but you can still see the old Painter Creek outlet going into the river. Explorers do venture into the property to get a look. And actually, when we went, there were 2 people who were there that we're pretty sure were trying to fornicate. And even after 100 years, the former property still remains strong as a beautiful reminder of a man who risked it all and won it all.